Good evening, my Trues Clues aficionados. I do want to talk to you about relationships, relationship coercion, and what is normal between two people in a functioning relationship. And I really hadn't planned on talking about my own relationship when I went into this interview with my friend Amanda. She did witness me going through a really, really nasty divorce. And then I realized I really should provide maybe some explanation into what happened in my own relationship. So I had been divorced. I was going to be alone. I had done some dating and stuff. I really wasn't trusting myself. I kind of put it out there to the universe, that I was just looking for something real solid, not necessarily handsome or anything like that, just something that was workable. And then I started talking to this guy through the military website. And I picked the military website because they vetted him, blah, 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 DDD. So I thought it was a safer avenue than a normal dating or, kind of thing. And then I ended up meeting a gentleman. He lived out east, I guess, where the 1776 stuff went down. And he was also military. And that was way different than what I normally went for. I like, bad boys, cars, that type of thing. And so he was also rode a motorcycle. Didn't pass judgment there either. Came out here to Colorado, like Amanda referred to, love bombing. Pretty much, was taking me out, doing everything, looking around like tourist and everything. Drove me on a trip where we just stopped and took our time all the way back out east again to meet his family after we got married. So things went well for a while. And then drama started happening at my house because I did have two daughters still living at home. And he got mad at my middle daughter. And for some reason or another, he thought it was my place to physically attack my own child, which I absolutely refused to do. And I guess that proved right there that, he didn't have me under complete control. And that was the very beginning of disintegration when I look back on it. And then I guess he felt like I sold him out. So he started talking to somebody else on the side, eventually introducing this person to me as his cousin that had come out from out east. And he was, going to the National Guard, blah, 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 DDD. And then he retired. I already knew something was going on. So we moved out of the area that we live in and moved up the mountain. And I told him, I said, if this proves to be what it is, then we're done. You know what I mean? And I said, it'll prove, what it is, because if this person follows you, there's obviously something wrong there. Well, of course, didn't even take us moving up the mountain that long. Didn't even have a phone or anything like that. She was already calling him at his job. And I found out through the grapevine, when you live in a small town, that's how it rolls. So things disintegrated. I stayed at my friend Amanda's house for a while. He would show up there and harass the public. Eventually, we were in the middle of a nasty divorce. He stole what he thought was my prized possession, which indeed was part of my prized possessions. I didn't have very many of them left because I had lost most everything being with him. He took the only thing I did have left. He took my original birth certificate. Anything that would harm me or hurt me, he was out to do, because actually I walked away. I wouldn't have anything to do with him, and he was stalking me like a crazy person. And I knew the best thing to do at that point in time, was to cut ties and to just move on. He would chase me in the car on the highway, chase me down anytime he saw me, would send the police to my house, do crazy things. So I knew that we had been together probably long enough that I could reap benefits from being a marital couple, with him being the military. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get into the details of it all. But I had purchased property when we moved up to the mountain that I had to really let go of and walk away from, because had I tried to hold on to that property, all I would do was just have him in my life forever. And I just needed to make a clean break. And when you are involved with Satan, you got to be paying a price to get away. There's just no two ways about it. So I let the property go, let it go to the universe, because I knew, one, he wasn't going to end up staying with it because he didn't have the balls to hang on to the property. With that in mind, and knowing that there would be later reimbursement from him through other means, I just totally let that go. Let me get my dog. So, I did make a decision, to split up. We had not spent a lot of time together. I just want to throw that out there because of his military service. It wasn't like we were together a lot until he retired. He would always be gone. He went to Iraq. I was doing the military mom thing in my own fashion because I didn't, pal around with the girls there or nothing like that from his, what do you call it? His troop or his squadron. So I met them, but I was a lot older than them. We weren't going to have much in common. To me, they were not even friendly. So eventually he went his way, I went my way. His cousin and him ended up getting together, which I knew was going to happen. And anytime that they'd see me, they would harass me. And like I said, this is a small town. So they would ride the bike and they would just scream my name once they found out where I was living, because I have lived my life very low key since all of that happened. I wouldn't let anybody know where I live. And you honestly wouldn't be able to find me unless I took you to my house. I mean, it's out in the open, but it's not out in the open, if you get what I'm saying. It took him a number of years to find me, but of course, like I said, small town, finally a friend we know both, asshole Roger, let him know where I was living, therefore he could harass me after that. But I guess in the meantime, making himself happy, he had his own thing going on the side, thereby him and the new wife, supposed cousin, are now split up. He has now moved to Wyoming with another woman to take advantage of. So there you go. So I wanted to add that in, and I'm just telling you, um, don't put up with shit. That's all I can say. Go here. Okay, good afternoon, my Trues Clues aficionados. I have a special treat for you today. My friend Amanda is back with us. We haven't chatted for a while, so I'm really happy to have her back online with us. And we are going to discuss what I would consider a controversial topic. It's called coercive control. And I just recently watched a show from 60 Minutes Australia where they want to enact these laws to start persecuting people for maybe monitoring what happens on your cell phone, making your spouse or domestic partner responsible to you in, of course, a coercive and controlling fashion. And they talked to a woman who was a lot older that had put up with it for a number of years, and some younger people. And it can involve physical abuse as well, but most of it is mental coercion. And when Amanda met me, I was going through a divorce at the time, so she got see a lot of the weirdness that I went through. But I wanted to talk to her on a personal level because she has a lot of life experience as well. And so the first question for you, Amanda, would be, how and when do you think this happens? And do we consider it part of American society, part of the normative of what goes along with relationships? Because, the younger generation now is not wanting to be involved in any type of like matrimony situation.
Right, right. So I don't know. For me, I feel that it happens across the world. I think that in America, it's more dramatized, like it's more public
Yeah. And
because, well, at least their culture is the female is supposed to bow to the man. So I think it has to do with a lot of how people are raised even.
So bringing that up, when you said that, that gave me chills. And the first thing that came to mind was the whole Gabby Petito
Yeah,
scenario. You know, how the cops were like, oh, well, they love each other, blah, blah, blah. Let's not keep them away from each other. And then all of a sudden she's disappeared. And
right.
they really didn't honor their own laws in society
They
at that
didn't.
time. Mm-hmm.
They did not, for sure. I mean, definitely you could tell that Brian, right, was his name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
His mom, I feel, was definitely in that situation, and just it wasn't, she didn't voice how scared she was with her husband because he had
Right.
to have learned it somewhere,
Yes.
whether that be from the husband or if he had a stepdad or something like that. I feel that that is a completely learned from the toxicity from his parents' relationships.
Do you think that it's considered, lack of a better word, machismo to be controlling of your woman? Because as a family man, if you're going by certain religions and certain
Hmm.
edicts, I don't want to bring that into play, but I feel it definitely
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
into play. How the woman should bow to the head of the house, you know, the man's the
yeah,
body,
yeah,
the woman's the head type of thing.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
somewhere along the line, I think the woman's the head kind of thing gets kind of overridden.
It does.
And,
It does.
you
Most
know, like
definitely.
in cultish societies, I don't want to point anyone out, but the first one that would come to mind is the Hasidic Jew documentaries I've seen on women who have escaped that extreme control.
Right.
So I don't know. And then up next, do you think age is a factor in it? And are we condoning
So,
stalker-like behavior with this?
so for me, that kind of hits home because there was 20 years in between my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So for my parents, I don't feel like my dad was stalking my mom. I mean, they met at square dancing and kind
Right,
of their relationship bloomed from there. However, I also have been subject to grooming.
right.
It's all like at a young age, and both the gentlemen that groomed me, 20 and 21, and I was only 13, 14 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it definitely can be a factor in my mind.
I
That and
definitely think so
my dad
too.
was much older than my mom, so he came from like the 1940s era,
Right.
1950s, where there was still chivalry and still respect for the lady of the house.
Mm-hmm. And then with your culture, not so much, huh? Because the times have
Yeah.
definitely
Oh no.
changed by then. So it
Oh
would
yeah.
become more of a grooming type of situation. And you never know that this is going
Yeah.
on. You know what I mean? You're young
No,
enough.
you're too blinded. You're too
Mm-hmm.
blinded by it. Like, definitely blinded when you're in the moment with that person.
And how long did it take you to realize this wasn't what it was portrayed to be, but something more of a control factor?
So, so the first time that it actually happened at church camp, and it was swept underneath the rug. I would say within the last 6 months, am I finally getting to the bottom of what actually happened in that situation? So, like, my questions now have changed from that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But the second situation, I worked with the gentleman, and my parents did their best to put a stop to it. And then eventually I just kind of walked away from it. But at that point in time, I didn't really put two and two together until I was much older in my teens, like early adulthood, even to look
Mm-hmm.
back at that relationship.
Well, and I'm not saying that there was anything wrong with it, but it certainly would turn your head as a young person, because I believe it happens to males and females, that
Oh
somebody
yeah.
giving you that much attention at that age is very, very you know, special in a
Yeah.
way, and that's how it starts
That's
off.
when you're learning.
Hmm. And
That's
how
when you're figuring out who you are.
and they really tank that for you because they know
Oh
that.
yeah.
Hmm. Well,
Mhm.
and like when I was growing up, it was kind of normal to date a guy that was around 10 years older than you because of the era going on at the time,
Right, right.
so but when I look back on it now, I think no way. No way. They're always going
Right.
to have the upper hand on you. And that's what I would try to advise my daughters. Don't.
So, even looking back at my parents' relationship, my mom was definitely the quiet one, and my dad was definitely the decision maker. Like, even looking back at that relationship, like seeing how I was raised with it, like my relationship currently that I'm married and happily married in,
Hmm.
um, there's 5 years in between us. There was 20 years in between my mom and my dad. There's 20 years in between me and my siblings, even.
Right, right,
You know what I mean? Like it's very much a broken disconnect because of the generational gaps.
right. And what do
And
you
they
think?
were raised with different they were raised with different even world things happening.
And on your spouse's behalf, is he familiar with the type of situation that you're from? And when
I mean,
because he was kind of
yes and
raised
no. Like
differently.
he knows he 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 also though has his own like I guess traumas, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
call it that, from being that same age.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he's only five years older than me. He was born at the end of the 70s and dealt with being in the 80s, where they were still trying to figure out how to even deal with mental health.
Right, right. And what do you think culture, that brings the next question in, culture coming into play with all of this? Because what would be considered normative back in the day, I mean,
Or
back,
is not
Betty would
now.
never have been able to get out and run the streets when she's married. She's taken off the market, and you have to do pretty much stay home and
Right.
make that home. You know what I mean? But
Right. Like I think it changed because women started standing up for themselves
yeah.
in any situation. Like that's
Hmm.
when that started. That started when we standed up and we started having voices.
I think that
And
did
there
have a
were
lot to
women
do.
before us that didn't have voices.
I think that would have been the true women's movement then. I don't know what's going on with what they call women's movement now, or
Like
how
Me
you're
Too.
some kind of fascist if you're a, independent, if you're Gloria
Yeah, yeah,
Steinem, you're
yeah.
some kind of militant person. I don't understand why you just can't support being a woman and support rights and who you are. And to me, it's all fragmented.
I really think that it's still because we live in a male chauvinistic era.
Me too. I think it's a
Like,
very
I think a
snide,
lot of it
conniving
has to do with
way
the male
to get back
socialism.
at women.
And yeah,
Hmm. I do, because we have left the home. We have
yeah.
prospered.
I
More
mean, I'm
women.
currently sitting at Deer Creek out here just watching people, and like it amazes me even out here. Like the trail is closed and people are still going down the trail that's closed.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
it doesn't matter
Exactly.
if something's up for a reason. Like us as humans are not respecting the boundaries that are put out even.
They don't even respect, like you said, the boundaries of nature. Hanging Lake had to be
Yeah,
closed. It was so trashed by
right.
people. And
That just
very.
recently opened back up again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you have to get reservations to get in now. They're not going to let you just go
Mhm.
in and tromp through there
No, it's
anymore.
because they want to know who's in there.
Yeah, they want to preserve the beauty. And that is
Hmm.
happening to so much of us and so much of life right now. What kind of craziness is that?
Right.
You know? And then, do you know anybody else? Do you feel that abuse in your younger life, or like you say, disconnection in your younger life, leads you open to this type of relationship And
I really
does it
think that
have to
it
do with
does. Like you
self-esteem?
have to, so I'm starting to work on my like myself and being like wondering what happened with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what's changed my views in my current situation and my current relationship that I have.
Right, right. Now, I've got a question for you. Have you done any
Mhm.
meditative inner child work, working on that inner heart child?
So I have not, but I just recently purchased a like study series
Mm-hmm.
that is basically I'll send you the picture of it, Tammy, because I got this series, like the book, the journal, and like the study guide.
Right.
But it's basically how to forgive what you can't forget.
Well,
So I've been looking at this series or this like this book and this workbook
mm-hmm.
for a couple months now, and I'm just really drawn to it. So I
Of
just haven't
course.
found anybody that are wanting to do it with me yet. So I haven't started it.
It's a difficult process. When I was working in the medical field, metaphysical field, not medical field by far,
Yeah, yeah.
um, I did approach a lady who, you know how you always hear spirit, like I will call you and say stuff, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just call people. And she was seeing me. I was reading for her, and I did bring up, working with her inner child, and it completely fractured our relationship. She became so very angry that we
So
had to
I
part
feel I
ways.
feel that in that situation, that person isn't ready to heal.
Oh, I know that. And then she did come back later, and want to be friends again. So I take it whatever she needed to confront had been confronted within that
Yeah,
time, or she would not have reached out to me again. But
right.
by that time in time, I felt like our paths had definitely split. You know what I mean? I was glad that
Yeah,
she was
yeah.
there, but I
I
didn't feel the
definitely
need to
feel
be
that it's
there.
a season of change again. That is for sure.
And I think that's what's
The
going on
people that
now.
were,
But
yeah, like even since last weekend, since the full moon, I feel like everybody's in a season of change again.
mm-hmm,
Like my husband like didn't lose, but he's in a quarrel right now with his two very close friends,
happens.
and they're not talking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like overnight that this happened. So like I definitely feel that like there's a lot to play into, and I think that the people that are willing to work on themselves are who's going to be the next like level of generation.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know. It's such an odd
This drink.
factor on how they look at life. I don't even know if they look at life like that at all, with this whole believe how you feel theory. And I'm not saying that's wrong to a point, but reality has to step in at a point as well.
So I feel for me when it comes to that situation that um it's not my job to judge that person.
Right.
Like I believe that my maker will make that right decision on who he lets in and who he won't.
Oh, I have no call about that. I think if you're working in that
Like
capacity, you definitely deserve, if you've done the work, you deserve the
I
glory.
feel I feel that we should accept everybody for who they are and love them for who they are and try to understand their flaws.
I don't feel that it's them that's causing the problem. I think it's the people that are taking advantage of that scenario
Yes.
that have become the problem. And,
Most definitely.
that subversive part there that's there, like the people saying, I am this, but then you look at internet stuff about them and it's not reflecting that same information. Now, that I
Yeah.
do have a problem with. But if you're honestly what you say you are, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
Mhm. Yep.
I'm not, but as far as somebody utilizing that in a negative fashion and take advantage of women, I am completely not down with that.
Oh yes, most definitely. Like I feel that we were made to be who we were made to be.
Hmm. Well, we are who we are. There's no changing that. That's for sure. I come from a day where you couldn't even wear pants to school. When I went to elementary school, we would have to take pants with us so we could do gym, so you could put your pants underneath your dress,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that would be the
yeah.
only time you got to wear pants.
Right.
So I see the pendulum go both ways, but I've never
Oh,
seen it
most
go.
definitely. I've got teenagers this day and age, and like it boggles my mind to know how our schools have adapted to all these different things. Like, it boggles my mind.
It is. It's very different than the school system we were used to knowing. There was
Even
no
even when I
expression.
was in school, it's changed from even when I was in school. And I was in school 20 years ago now. I
Mm-hmm.
graduated in '05,
Mm-hmm.
so it's been 20 years, but
I think a
it's
lot has
crazy
happened
to
in
think
like the
of.
last 10 years as far as
Oh
education
yeah,
goes.
definitely it's hard. It's definitely hard being a teenage, definitely hard being a teenage daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Mom.
Mm-hmm.
The
It,
questions that come up nowadays, like not only is it hard, but kids are scared to ask the questions that they have.
well, that's terrible. That is, I mean, we've always had kind of a, teens not wanting to talk to adults kind of
Yeah, but I
generational
feel that
thing,
it's
but
worse now. Like
you
they
would
they
think it would
see
get better.
they s- the, I feel like our teens nowadays seek outside help away from their parents because they feel judged.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because there is that.
But
Sorry, there's a helicopter going over.
what would make them feel so judged though? Where does this thing come from?
Right. It's all mindset.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
It is a conundrum to me. I just look at society now and I just figure it's just a generational gap for me because I don't
Hmm.
understand it and I don't have a clue. I'm not trying to
No,
even
it very
understand
much
it
is.
though.
Even like I said, even that short amount of time, it's very much a generational gap. The way that kids talk nowadays are not how we used to talk, even to our parents.
So how do you think this coercive control? Well, I think no matter what happens in society, there'll still be certain personalities that are open to that type of control. And I don't
Yeah.
think you initially know it, and you don't even know if you're that type of personality until you have to confront that kind of
Right.
situation. And it's just
Yes.
like you have a fight or flight reaction, or you keep wanting to
Yep.
cop an excuse for this person for as long as it works.
Yep. Embarrassment.
Mm-hmm. And shame.
Hmm.
Shame is such a factor, except especially with young people that age.
Oh
Shame
yeah.
is such a manipulator. Because isn't it, they said something about just talking popular stuff now, that Britney Spears soon to be ex-husband has been trying to extort money from her with these videos he plans on letting go to the public if she doesn't go along with what he wants because he had a prenup or something.
Oh my Jesus.
I
I don't
know.
know, I haven't kept up for it. There's another helicopter coming over. They
Some
must be
kind of.
doing simulation.
Well, it looks kind of nice out there. I haven't been out yet. I'm going to get out of here.
So
Probably get out for a
it is
minute.
super nice.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I went out and watered the flowers this morning, but that was about it. But
It is super nice. I'm at Deer Creek,
oh,
so
it is. It's
I'm just above
beautiful. I love it.
the city, not too
Uh-huh.
far. But there's nobody out here because it's warm but not bad.
Right. That's good.
But I'm still close enough that if I needed to head back, I could head back. And there's, like I said, there's people walking up and down,
Yeah.
and there's
People
people
not
that aren't
listening to the
listening to the
signs.
closed sign.
I know. It's been quite a tourist trashy year up here this season too. You can't walk around without having to pick up somebody's trash. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So anyway, Amanda, do you have any last thoughts that you would like to say on today's conversation? Anything that young girls can look out
And,
for to be aware of?
I mean, just be open to what people see around you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because you're not seeing it doesn't mean that it's not happening. And
Exactly.
I am definitely a people watcher.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely voice up and speak my opinions when my friends' choices have a negative effect in any way.
Well, without mentioning any names, what about our common friend that's just getting situated now? Do you think her
Uh,
relationship was
uh
coercive?
they're definitely in a better I I feel that that relationship he's looking for somebody to take care of him.
Are you
And he doesn't want to do the things that it takes to
make it work? Yeah.
make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, definitely in the past, this friend has been in definitely some coercive freaking relationships for sure. And I mean, the one that was really, really hard on her, that broke her for her next relationship, which is the one that she's in,
Mm-hmm.
definitely has taken her a long time to heal from, a long time to realize that she needed to set boundaries, a long time to realize that it's okay, even that it didn't work.
Right. So what do you think
Because
is
I mean, there was children involved with that, and I mean, there's still kids involved with this next one, but
mm-hmm.
it's not the same type of coercion. It's the coercion of how he was raised because his parents were older, so he saw that mom was the homemaker.
Modeling. Mm-hmm.
And so he still thinks that that is what should be done for most of this day and age. And the woman should just be happy with it. Now, I can say this said friend is doing amazing this round because she walked away again, but this time it's a different walk away.
Mm-hmm.
She's not moving back in with him. I don't know if the roommate is still there or not. I haven't really talked to her because she's been dealing with some car issues again.
Oh
But
boy.
she's supposed to move into her own place on the
I
1st
saw that. And is it up here or
with
is
her
it in the city?
boys. It's up there.
What? What? I'm happy. Was it the one she was looking at
I
when you
believe
came
so.
up? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So,
However, I'm gonna buy her cameras because of who her neighbors are.
okay. Well, those are pretty easy to get nowadays. If
Yeah.
you were a young girl,
Um,
or what do you tell your young girls about possibly getting into that type of relationship? What signs would you give them to look out for?
love bombing. Just always being willing to jump right then and there, like never leaving you alone.
Mm-hmm.
Gaslighting,
Yep.
constantly saying no, you have to do this, or like even there's so many things that I've told my girls, like, and it goes both ways, even whether you're whatever your orientation
That's
is.
what I say. It can be, it
It
can go
goes
either
any
way.
way. Like I've even because I have a daughter who's T plus whatever.
Yeah, the alphabet
Um
soup. Uh-huh.
and she's had girlfriends. So even when the girlfriends, I'm like, dude, you don't need to be gaslit. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need to be this, you don't need to be that, you know. Just be yourself, and if they don't like you, then it's not supposed to be.
Basically, if you're in a relationship, certain things should not be happening.
Yeah. If you've got that gut intuition dinging or a red flag in your freaking mind, maybe you should
Mm-hmm.
explore it and investigate it a little bit more.
Well, the thing that comes to my mind is, do we need laws, coercion control laws to put people in jail over monitoring people's text messages? Maybe I consider it like a stalkerish behavior. I know we've needed to tighten up stalker laws, but if you're just in a
Yeah,
regular relationship, some people do this type of thing.
and I mean, I feel that each individual, like, yeah, she most definitely should save like text messages and shit in case
Mhm.
something does go down. Like, it's good, but I feel that if that's happening, then those should be red flags. Like,
Right.
There's
Right.
a lot of like Facebook groups now, even Are We Dating the Same Guy? And people are
Hmm.
posting
Well,
just
like
to double check.
one funny
And
story
I
I was
even heard
thinking of
some.
earlier is
Hmm.
when used to live up on St. Mary's, and it'd be really cold up there. So sometimes I just spend the night down here in town. And I
Yeah.
had stayed at the hotel here over in Idaho Springs,
Hmm.
and the ex came by the next morning and accused me of having a male to spend the night because I used all the towels. And
He's
what
a special kind of
what one
special.
person would use all the towels. But it was the hugest argument ever. So, as silly as it sounds, as possible
Dude,
as
that
it can
person hasn't
be,
even changed. I hope you realize that.
I just can only laugh.
Dude, he has not changed one bit either. He is still ridiculous. And the person that he gave you so much hell for has
Hmm.
now finally gotten her divorce papers.
Yep. Oh well.
Like, and she was like, dude, tell her to reach out. I'll help her with the house. He totally stole that. And I'm like, what's the point?
Exactly. She,
Like,
she just
I
wants
do.
to get at him now and try to use me to get at him, and
Yeah,
that's not going to be
yeah.
happening. I so
No,
put a
we're
period on
bigger
that and
than
walked
that.
away.
We're definitely bigger than that. But he does not live in the state.
Yeah, I have my own horror stories about trying to help that lady, and then she didn't listen anyway. So,
No. No,
just as
why listen?
why listen exactly? But the fact is I can't even imagine that he would still have the house. I know he's had to lose it. He wouldn't be out here on the streets like he is.
He's not up there.
I know that. He's homeless. I know that too.
No, he's not even in state.
He is not anymore?
No,
That's hilarious.
no, he
They're
is not
crawling
in
back
state
home?
anymore. No, he went to Wyoming. He found another one to flip in Wyoming.
Like flipping houses, I guess, huh? That's
Yeah,
so
well, that's
Wyoming?
manipulative for you. Use them for what they got and then leave them.
Uh-huh.
Typical atypical.
Yeah. Well, I didn't utilize all of my resources, and I'll be getting some back. I made sure I was around long enough for that. So,
Right?
yes, I'm
I
not
don't
the
know.
dumbest can in the shed here,
No.
but it is what
But
it is.
yeah, like even that situation, like he hasn't changed. He doesn't want to better himself. He's just gonna hurt the next
Female.
vulnerable
Hmm.
person that he meets.
Yep. Well, I wasn't really vulnerable when I met him. I just, have a certain mind about how relationships work, and he just took advantage of that. The fact of, when you're in a relationship, things should work like this equally.
Right,
Yeah, but then, sometimes you have to give some, sometimes the other should give something. And then that's not what happens. So,
right. There's a park ranger out here now. Maybe
is
I
he
should tell
cute?
him.
I love a man in a
No,
uniform. Hi,
no,
baby. Oh, never
no,
mind. Oh.
no.
Anyway, we're
Mhm.
about running out of time here on the video thing. So if I lose you, that's what's going on here.
All right.
But what are you going to do for the rest of the day?